Yo book nerds! Today is going to be my third video going through all the books on my physical TBR. Today I'm going to talk about all of the modern classics that are on my TBR. And so again, if you don't know how I define classics, go check out my video about that. But briefly, I define modern classics as books that are 50 to 100 years old. I'm not going to say too much about these books because there's a good number to get through. Up first, we have The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This book was written in 1925. A couple more years and it'll be over 100 years old, and then it will be what I define as a classic instead of a modern classic. So it's almost there. And this is a book that I feel like everybody read in high school except for me. I did not. And so, yeah, this is definitely one that I want to read. Up next, we have Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. This was written in 1926. So again, a few more years and this will be classic. I just think this will be fun to read and take me back to my childhood. There is nothing wrong with adults reading children's books. All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria Remarque. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly or not. My apologies. This was written in 1928. I am very interested in history, and this is about World War I, so it's of great interest to me. I do think that this will be a fascinating read because it's about the Germans, and I think that will be interesting because most war novels, most war movies are from the winning side, and the Germans are the losing side. And so I think it will be very fascinating to read. I've often heard that this is the greatest war novel ever written, and so I'm just very intrigued to read this. I am also German, and so I've always been interested in learning more about World War I and World War II just because of my own personal history, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. I think that Germans hold a lot of collective guilt for the past, and I definitely feel that sometimes, and so I want to learn about this history. Continuing with Erich Maria Remarque, we have The Road Back, which was written in 1930. This is sometimes considered a sequel to All Quiet on the Western Front. Other people say it's not. Either way, I'm still interested in reading it. And then we have Three Comrades by Erich Maria Remarque, and this was written in 1936. And I've heard that Three Comrades is the third book in this trilogy, coming after The Road Back, and then other people say that it's not. So I'm not really certain, but again, interested in reading it. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This was written in 1937. I love this cover. It is so beautiful. Look at it. Isn't it just gorgeous? As you can see by the fake sticker on here, this is the 75th anniversary edition. So we're not quite to that 100-year mark yet. Then I have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I actually thought this book was older than it was. So when I was looking it up, I was really surprised that this came out in 1938. I have heard so much about Rebecca and really want to read this story. I've never read Daphne du Maurier before, and so this is definitely one I would love to have under my belt. 1984 by George Orwell. This came out in 1949. It'll be interesting to read. I've heard so many things about this book. I know that it's where the term Big Brother comes from. I've never read Orwell before, so I would love to have him under my belt. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I think the whole premise of this book sounds intriguing, and so yeah, that's why I want to check this one out. This book came out in 1954. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. This came out in 1955. Again, this whole premise of this story just intrigues me. If you don't know what this book is about, I'm not going to get into it right now, but the whole idea of a Catch-22 is very intriguing to me. The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which came out in 1959. I've never read Shirley Jackson before, and I've really wanted to read some more horror novels, and so I'm excited to give this a try someday. Continuing with Shirley Jackson, I have We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which came out in 1962. So again, just very interested in expanding my horror novel background and in trying Shirley Jackson. A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. This also came out in 1962. I have heard very interesting things about this book. I have heard that it is gut-wrenching, awful content. I have not seen the movie. I just know that this book will make you uncomfortable. And honestly, I like books that make me uncomfortable because usually you're uncomfortable because there's some kind of discussion that needs to be had. And so I'm just very intrigued by this book. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly. I've heard it pronounced Vonnegut. I don't know which way is the correct way. So sorry for mispronouncing that. This came out in 1968, and I actually don't know a whole lot about this book, but it is a modern classic, and I've heard people say that this is a must-read, and so that's why I feel like I must read it. Not in a bad sense. I don't think that I have to read it and it will be bad and boring. I've heard that it's one of those that should be on your bucket list, and so here it is. And then we have a book that just became what I define as a modern classic because it came out in 1973. So that makes it 50 years old this year, and that is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This is definitely one that I would like to read this year. It's one I've been considering already, but now that I know that it just became a modern classic, that's kind of a special little anniversary, and what better way to honor this book and this author by reading it on its 50th year anniversary. And I just love this movie anyway, so to read the book and see where that movie comes from would be a lot of fun. Those are all of the modern classics that I currently have on my physical TBR. Let me know which ones you guys have read and which ones you like, which ones you think that I should start with first. I hope to get to all of them soon, but you know how it is when you have way too many books on your TBR and not enough time. So let me know what you think I should prioritize. I will see you guys next Monday. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for talking books with me.